So a number of months ago, I was at the grocery store, and this was around 1 or 2 in the morning, really one of the only grocery stores in the area that is still 24 hours. But there was a woman in front of me in line who probably had a week or two's worth of groceries, a lot of stuff on the line. And I would assume she had kids because some of the things in her cart were things you usually only get if you have kids. And as she was about to pay for her groceries, her card did not go through. And it was late, of course. Now, there was very few people in the store, myself included, so I didn't mind the wait, and understandably, things happen. It's not the most far-fetched thing in the world. But she was on the phone with, I would assume, a boyfriend or a friend of hers. I have no idea. And they didn't end up picking up. I would assume she was calling them to have them load money onto the card. And she ended up not getting the groceries and leaving the store. Now, something that stood out about this whole interaction that I saw was she had the latest phone. She had a brand new pair of shoes, new clean pair of jeans, whole outfit done up, necklace, earrings, all these things. But she couldn't pay for necessities like groceries. Now, I could get into spending and prioritizing and living within your means, but nonetheless, a lot of women are now seeing what it is like to be financially independent. I don't know if this woman was a single mother. I don't know if she has a boyfriend. I have no idea what her situation is. Obviously, I don't know her personally. And there's part of me in the back of my mind who wishes I could help someone like that and pay for their groceries, right? But when I see that they have everything else that they're spending a lot of money on, really to have the image of appearing that you have money, it makes me think, why should I feel bad for them? Because if they do have kids, they're not prioritizing them. They're not prioritizing things they should. And of course, I'm critical of grocery price. I mean, you look at things that have skyrocketed in the past few years. Now, of course, things like cherries and strawberries, there are certain things that have always been somewhat expensive, but nonetheless, many other things have gotten a lot more expensive. Like in the city I'm in, I don't think it's like this everywhere, and I don't personally shop at a lot of the kind of big box run-of-the-mill grocery stores. But, and this one that I had seen the interaction at is a more budget-friendly one. But the price of water, things that I would usually get, certain produce items, has become a lot more expensive. But nonetheless, expensive grocery costs or not, women are now seeing what it is like being financially independent. And there was this mindset that a lot of women had adopted, and perhaps still have, thinking that when they get to a certain point or a certain age, when they want to settle down, whatever that even is at this point, because I see women even in their 30s acting like they're in their late teens or early 20s, thinking that a guy's going to come along and be their retirement plan. So they can make all the mistakes, they can make all the financial mistakes, they can go to the nightclubs, go to the bars, do all these things, go from guy to guy, and then when they're ready, keep in mind, not when whoever else is ready, whenever they're ready, that they're going to have someone come along like a Prince Charming and be their retirement plan and provide for them, which, providing, by the way, is a lot more than just financial. When it doesn't at all work that way. Now, what's so just baffling about this whole thing and this whole discussion is, I would put money on it. I would guarantee it that a lot of women that think that way, that eventually get to their mid-30s or 40s and realize that's not how it works, probably had those men when they were in their 20s who wanted to take them on dates and would have had that ability to provide financially. They turned them down or thought they were boring. They thought they were desperate. They thought they were clingy because they showed any interest at all. And that's the thing I will say too. These kind of games that so many men are seeing, because let's not forget, ultimately, the reason why men are not dating, the reason why a lot of men are staying single, that is regardless of what a lot of folks might try to point to, this whole false idea of men falling behind, all different kinds of things. The primary reason is attitude and entitlement. Those two things right there really behavior, but those two things right there are the primary reasons why so many men are staying single. Because they have self-respect and they're not going to settle in the first place. But seeing these kinds of games, where if you show any interest at all, let alone mutual interest, certainly more interest, it would apply, but it's almost like give some and then they pull back. Give some and then they pull back because they think you're clingy, they think you're desperate, that you're too easy or whatnot. And so now you have people who are looking at things like even just a basic text interaction and looking at it as some kind of rocket science project where you have to reply within a certain amount of hours, otherwise you come across as desperate or needy. Where you leave the person on red for a day, all this kind of stuff. When it's like, what about just replying on your own time when you're available to get on your phone and you see a text, which again, let's not be naive with this either. You shouldn't need to, first of all, double or triple text women in the first place. You're going to tell me that they don't have their phone right by them. That's the thing that someone did tell me, someone who was a lot older and a lot wiser than I am, told me that this idea of someone, I didn't see your text, that's all really made up for the most part. They have their phones near them. So seeing these kind of things and seeing these kind of games, men are not going to go along with it. Certainly men who have self-respect. And additionally, men who have that ability to where they get to a point where they are financially comfortable and can help financially. Which, by the way, a woman needs to provide a lot more in a relationship than just being a woman. They definitely don't have time for it because they are focusing on building themselves. They don't have time to dedicate to their day to play these kind of games. They don't at all have that. So seeing that right there makes perfect sense why so many men are single. Makes perfect sense why so many women are single. And why they're going to see what it is like to be financially independent. I'm sure we've all seen this kind of trope too, where when women are in their 20s, going on dates, getting the free drinks, the free food. And I've even heard of things like this where women will make dating app profiles with no intention of getting in a relationship, but with all the intention of getting the with all the intention of getting the attention and validation. And they will have made their profile also they can have guys pay for their food, basically. They'll go on different dinner dates, go to these extravagant restaurants and rack up the bill. I've heard of things like that. Now, the short time that I was on dating apps when I was in my early 20s, I had never come across that. But I've heard of things like that happening. And I've heard of it being quite common. Again, I think they should change the name of those things because they're certainly not for dating. It's for attention. It's for validation. It is a complete waste of time. Very few times have I seen people actually lead to a relationship from a woman they had met on a dating app. Very few times. And I would imagine it's far less than 1% even. Could I safely say perhaps. But when it comes to the attitude, the kind of rudeness, mentioning the grocery stores, even this past Thursday, I was out and about. And there was a woman who was working at this grocery store. And I had asked her if she could help me find something. I was looking for, I think it was organic 2% milk. And I had said, excuse me, she didn't give me any eye contact. I had said it again, and then she finally kind of looked me in the eye. But you could tell she was just angry, attitude. Something was off. And she just very rudely and dismissively said, whatever milk we have, there we have. And I'm thinking to myself, number one, when things like this happen, and I'm flawed as anyone else is. Nobody's perfect. I wish that I didn't get any form of anger in these kind of moments, right? Or feeling of kind of disrespect. The best thing to do is just to, especially little petty things like this, just let it go, right? And I understand that people could be having bad days. I get that. But this has become a very common occurrence, especially in things like customer service when it comes to the way I see women interacting with customers. But seeing things like this makes me think, this kind of attitude, yeah, no man is going to want to date or marry a woman like that. And that's the thing too. I've been seeing this kind of campaign where it's almost like these are the women that we are expected to marry. These are the women that self-respecting men are expected to marry, to overlook these things, to not have standards. This kind of campaign I've seen. I'll say this to, and you could take this as credit or not to women, but I see a lot of women who will actively prop each other up, right? But it's not for the betterment of the woman. So I wouldn't say it really is due credit. And perfect example is, if you have a friend of yours and you see that they are actively doing something that is detrimental, or that they could improve on this, you will tell them in private, respectfully, with the right intentions, that they should change this about themselves, that perhaps they're going down a bad path. Whereas I will see women who will prop each other up and get mad even when you call out behavior or certain things that they're doing that are objectively negatives. They will prop each other up. And I'm sure we've seen things with a few years ago, things like the body confidence movement, stuff like that, where they will actively even prop up things that are just directly detrimental. And what that has created is this form of entitlement, and really a form of misery. Because so many women now think that they're celebrities. They think that they are above all these men. This is even, average women think that they're above average men. I use that word average loosely, so take what you will with that. You know what I mean, though. Thinking that they are above these guys and wanting something that is ultimately not even, and I say not obtainable, and I'm not saying that obviously a guy who's above 6 foot doesn't exist, but I'm saying because it's not even about the individual. It is about the image. It is about this constant chase to have better. This grass is always greener mentality. So they could be with a guy who's 6'3" and has a six pack and whatever you could think of. And there will still be something in the back of their mind, perhaps, that has them thinking they could do better. And that's additionally with being able to live comfortably financially. And I'll say this too, because I've heard an argument for this before, and I used to even be a little bit, I would say, on the fence with this, especially in this city I'm in with the cost of living, where people will make the argument that it is beneficial to have kind of split rent and stuff like that being in a relationship. But I'll tell you what, men are weighing out the risks. They are seeing that it is not at all worth the risk long term to be with a woman without discernment, just to be in a relationship, to have your rent split and certain necessities split, to have the potential to be divorced online, to have things going on that you really have no idea, to overlook a woman's past. No. I wouldn't at all want to be in that position. It is not worth the risks down the line. Just to say that you have, or just to have for in the moment, have split kind of rent living with a woman. No, I wouldn't say so at all. I think a lot of men are weighing out those options and agreeing. But ultimately what it comes down to is you have a lot of women who are going to see this, and rather going to see and come to this realization that it's not fun having to live paycheck to paycheck and live within your means. Because I don't think a lot of women are as prepared for that. Now, of course, I've seen things with academia and women who get high income jobs, whether they get college degrees or not. Because let's be honest, not every college degree is going to guarantee you a good job in general. That's a different discussion in itself. But seeing that, and then they develop this mindset where they think that they don't need a man, right? So what does that tell you? That they were using men for financial means in the first place? Because that's the other thing I'll say too, is this idea with even competing with a guy in a relationship. That might be even a problem that with splitting an income. You don't compete with someone, number one, who's a friend of yours, who you're in a relationship. Now, I understand there's things like friendly competition, little banter here and there, like in the gym and whatnot, where it doesn't have any bad intention. But I've seen this where women who are ones who perhaps have the ability to be financially independent, feeling like they don't have any use for men, have no problem engaging in things like divorce, not having the best interests of their kids, by the way, now perhaps not being able to see their father. I've seen a lot of that. It is a very weird kind of situation. But at the same time, men have woken up and they are not being retirement plans for women. That shouldn't be the case at all. A woman should be with you whether you have the financial means or not and supportive. What does that tell you if she only wants you when you're at the finish line? Right? If you get to that finish line and you have a woman who now wants to be with you because you made it or your money and stuff, that's not at all going to lead to a loyal, conducive, healthy relationship. That's not at all how it works. So, as always, guys, I appreciate you for viewing the video. And I will say this. When it comes to living within your financial means, take what you will with that. But a lot of women are seeing and are going to see with the mindset of, I can do whatever I want to do in my 20s. And now it's really become 30s, let's be honest. And think that some high earner, top echelon, whatever guy is going to come along. No, that's not how it works. So, again, guys, thank you so much. Hope you guys have a good one.